Hello everyone, my name is Nita Melissa and welcome to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I'm just pretty much here to share my stories and my experiences in hopes of helping somebody else in their either mental health journey or their physical journey. Today, I'm actually just going to talk about the things I've learned as a daughter, as a mother, and as a partner. So if you are here, maybe you're looking for a new way of dealing with your relationships at home, either with your family, your kids. Um, I'm going to share what I had to deal with, or what I've dealt with, and how I've handled it, and what I've learned. And I'm only here because I feel like the information I've learned, even though it came hard, it could be useful to someone else. So I'm gonna be first talking about what I've learned as a daughter, because that's my first experience into this world, is being a daughter. And at first, growing up, you hold some resentment against your parents because of things they did, and you not understanding why they did it or whatever the case is. And I know my first step to like understanding my parents was becoming a parent myself. When I became a parent myself, I realized, okay, I love my kids so much. I'm not purposely trying to do things to hurt them or upset them or anything like that. So then I kind of understood that my parents must have done the best they could, because I now know what it is to love another child, or to love a child, and to know that you wouldn't do it on purpose, or you wouldn't do it with a malicious intent. So when I had my daughter is when I started to see my parents with more empathy and just forgiveness of like however they did it. Another thing too is when I read the book, I'm not going to stop mentioning it. When I read the book, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life by Dr. Daniel Amen, it explains the brain, it explains trauma, it explains all the different ways that our characteristics or traits or upbringings, and how it can all just affect our brains in a way of where it can change how we are as a person. So when I understood that, I realized that a lot of times we may not have control of why we do certain things, or say certain things, or act a certain way, but we could find out. We just have to do a lot of inner work, right? But because a lot of times we don't have time for that, like it's hard for me to put blame on anyone else that's having trouble with that, because I understand how much work it takes. Another thing too about just understanding my parents is that in Hispanic households, mental health is a no factor. Like there's no one talks about mental health in Hispanic homes. I mean, from my experience, from what I know, um, it's called, oh, stop crying, get over it, toughen up. Oh well, I had to do worse, or whatever. And so um, understanding that, just like I didn't feel like I had the best emotional support as a kid, now that I look back at it, because then I didn't know any better. Um, I understand that my parents as well didn't have the same support. If anything, they had it even worse. And in a lot of cases, our parents did have it worse than we have had it. So once you understand how the brain works, once you understand what trauma does to the brain, and how everyone is a victim of traumas, and it just gives you a little bit more space to have empathy for them. Um, you don't judge as much when you realize all those things. It's hard to judge because like there's a medical thing behind it now. Now it's just not that person being malicious, unless like they know they're doing it and they enjoy doing it. That's different. But a lot of times we do things and say things that we're not intending it to be malicious or to be hurtful, but it's our upbringing, or it's just certain things that we grow up with, or generations and generations of teachings. So one of the things I learned to excuse me, is just to be not to be so hard on anyone, especially on myself. Like when I think back on the things I've said to people or done, I cringe a little, but I have to forgive myself because I didn't know any better. I was just kind of like doing what I saw growing up or what I felt comfortable with at the time because of my own insecurities or my own traumas and other things. Um, so again, that saying why mental health is so important is because we can understand more of why the whys and the reasoning behind whatever things that you're questioning, either about your parents, grandparents, or anything like that. And to be honest, the way I see it is our from generation to generation, there's like a baton that we pass on to once we have a child, once we have kids, we're passing it on as we have kids. So if you think back to your great grandparents and what were they doing at their time here, and what was happening in the world, and and when you think back on what your great grandparents were doing, and then what your grandparents were doing, and then what your parents were doing, it's like they just kept passing the baton to the kids, to the next generation. Nobody had time to concentrate and think and go within and fix anything that they felt like needed to be fixed, like the traits and the characteristics and all that stuff, and the emotional dumping just kept going from generation to generation. And so I feel because our parents didn't have time to, they were worried about surviving and getting ahead in life and providing for us. They didn't have time to work on their emotional health or their mental health. So I feel where the baton is right now is um, I had given it to my kids and I'm taking it back, and I'm trying to rewire it and then give it back to them once I've rewired it correctly. The problem with that is that your kids are watching you, and I'm now transitioning what I've learned as a mother. Your kids are watching you, and they watch how you talk about people. They watch and listen. They watch how you respond, how you react out in the world, how you react at home. They can see the difference. I will say that again. They can see the difference of how you are at home and how you are at church and how you are at work and how you are everywhere else. And so that's important to keep in mind because that's registering in their brain as something, and it's not a good something. And so it's important that you're teaching your kids to be true to yourself, to be true to themselves. And and also they will respect you more if they see that, oh, mom is how she is everywhere she goes. She's not fake. Like my mom's real. Like she's she's honest, or she does this, does that, and she'll be the same person wherever she goes. And I think that holds a lot more respect than like, oh, my mom's fake. Like she says blah 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 at church and I know she doesn't for a fact. So it's like, if you should be worried about anyone watching you, it's not your friends, it's not social media, it's your kids, because they are the definition of who you are. Like they are portraying everything that they've seen at home. They are talking like you, they are walking like you, their gestures are like, if you really look at your kids, like you can see yourself in every one of them. Like different parts of you are in every one of them. And so, I mean, no pressure, but that's why we care so much about like what our kids are doing out in the world, and how they're dressed or whatever, because that reflects our parenting, right? Okay, so let's care a little further, even more, and really try to change ourselves within, like really try to be better people and not have toxic traits and do toxic things, because our kids are watching us, and they will do it. They will go out there and be exactly like you are. And I am speaking from experience. Okay. And this is why I'm here, because I want you guys to really understand that, because I'm learning it the hard way. Oh, um, again, your kids are watching you, so don't be fake. Be who you say you are, because if the only important eyes on you are those kids, because they're going to go out in the world and do what you're doing. So if you're not living a good lifestyle, then they're going to go and do that. And sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll find a way, but what better example than what they're seeing every day, day in and day out. They see you doing it. So I think that's the best way to start. And like I said, because I started later in life, I didn't start changing my life until 4.5 years ago or so. And so my kids were already older, And it's hard to kind of rewind, like, hey, just kidding. That's not what we do. I can't do that. I'm struggling a lot with my 16-year-old because she had so many years of toxic me, angry me. And so, if you're going to change for anyone, do it for your kids because they're watching and they're going to hold you accountable and they're not going to take you serious if you ever try to give them any kind of advice or something because they're like, okay, what do you do? What do you do for yourself? Right. And so, one of the main things I learned as a mom was I had to be a little selfish. I grew up learning and knowing that I ate last, everyone first, and then me. And that is not exactly the way you want to do things because at the end of the day, if you are not okay, how can you be okay for your family? How can you be okay with how can you be a good mom if you're always upset and you're not happy with yourself or you're not happy with your day, you're not happy with life? How can you be a good mom if that's the kind of energy you're in all day? How can you be a good daughter? How can you be a good partner? You know? And so we need to first get out of that mentality of me last. Because me last, then everyone has to suffer with me being upset and not like the best version of myself. So first things first, put yourself first for a little bit. Make time for yourself. If you stop doing things that you loved, get back to doing things you loved. That's called being fulfilled, having fulfillment, doing something that's going to make your heart happy. And that's super important because if you're in your day all day long and you're just doing things you don't want all day long, why do you think you come home so frustrated with like little patience for your family? For the people that matter, that's the worst part. For the people that actually matter, you are all drained. You're so drained from work, you're so drained from school, you're so drained from your day that the only battery left you have for the people that care and that matter and that are gonna absorb what you're doing because they care about you, and it's not just a stranger that's gonna say, whatever, she's crazy. Like, these are people that are gonna take in what you're gonna give them. And so it's so important that if you're working an 8 to 5, great, but do something. Make sure it's something that you're loving and you're finding fulfillment in, because if not, you're gonna come home in not the best mood, and that's not fair to your family. And so, be selfish, make time for yourself, or have a be in a job or be in a career that actually fulfills you and makes you happy. Um, when I say make time for yourself, make time for the gym. A lot of times I always hear, not always, a lot of times I hear people say, oh, I don't have time. I have to do X, Y, and Z. I don't have any time. What we forget is that we have to exercise. We used to hunt for our food. That was when we got our exercise. So we no longer hunt for our food. Unless you're hunting for your food, you have to incorporate exercise into your day. I tell my kids, or I tell my daughter, because I'm trying to get her on her journey right now. It's like, if you ate today, you work out today. Like, it's just a must. You have to work out. And so, when you get on your journey of being healthy all around, mental and physical health, you're gonna have to incorporate physical somehow. Like, especially if you're not healthy, you have to incorporate that because you just don't understand the joy it's gonna bring into your life once you have it. You know, don't give up on yourself. Like, you're still here, you're still breathing, you still have control, and you can still make changes. You can still get that body you've always wanted. And so I'm encouraging you to not make any excuses and to just make time. Make time because you have to. You have to. You have to make it just as important as eating. Did you eat today? Okay, well, do some kind of movement today. And even better if you do it with your kids, go on a long bike ride or something. And that's something that I've been doing with mine on the weekends too. Just going on bike rides. So it's like, make time. No one has time. You have to make time. Make yourself that important that you're like, okay, I can wake up an hour earlier and do something, anything, but just giving yourself that discipline in that time, and then once you start getting into it, it gets a little easier, especially if you're doing the right things and you have the right support. So make time for yourself. Be selfish. Another thing I learned is by making time for yourself again and by doing things that you love, that the energy that you have on you and the vibes. And I know this sounds hippie, but it's so real because I did it myself. When I started to change, like I saw the changes in my kids when I wasn't carrying all that anger, all that grudge, all that frustration of why people do this, why people do that. It's like, oh my God, it doesn't matter. Like, it's if it's disturbing your peace, who cares? So um if you are finding yourself with like kids that are just like out of nowhere, just attitudes, and just every time they talk to you it's an attitude, I don't know, it's or just not listening, or just I don't it, you can tell when like your kids are acting off a little bit. You are going to have to relook at yourself and what are you bringing, because a lot of times you'll get the energy that you give. You will receive the energy that you get. So if you're talking to somebody with a certain tone or with a certain demeanor, don't be shocked if you get the same in return. And sometimes if you do get the same in return, take a step back and think about like, how did you just deliver, and then go from there. Because a lot of times we don't realize that we're carrying this on us, and it just shows. You could just feel it. And growing up in a Mexican household, we don't know about vibes. We don't energies. Like, what? Get out of here. Like, you're just mean. You're just a mula. But no, it's real, man. If all the thoughts that are going in your mind and all the feelings that you're having throughout the day, it's this one person, this wise man told me that it's almost like you're farting into the air that you're in. That's like the best way he could have put it for me to understand it. Like when you are in a bad mood and you have bad energy and you have bad thoughts and you're sitting in a group of people, it's like you're farting and you're just sitting there like, so what? Deal with it. I'm having a bad day. Like, so what? Deal with it. I'm PMSing. It's like, no, it's not fair. You should be mindful of that. You should be mindful of the people around you, especially if it's your family. It's the people you care. Don't fart in their air. I should make a t-shirt. Don't fart in their air. Like, it's not it's not cool. Like, try to control yourself enough to not spread it. Like, handle yourself before you go into a group. And that's why a lot of times like you got to go into quiet places and go deep within and just get in your head a little bit about like who you are, who you want to be, who do you want to portray to be, because a lot of times the people we want to be are not who we are portraying to be. And so that's something that we really have to pay attention to and look at. So energies, be careful with your energy. Let go of the stuff that you're carrying that are not helping you, they're not serving you. If you read that book of Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, it's going to explain so much about what you do to yourself when you're putting yourself through those negative thoughts and anger and frustrations. Like, it explains it so well, at least for me. It explained it so well that I said, the hell with that. I am not giving anybody that power to do that to my body. Like, I'm over here trying to lose weight and get fit, and I keep putting my body through fight or flight because somebody pissed me off, or I allowed somebody to piss me off. And so it took a lot of work, but when you really want to change something or learn something, you're going to learn it and you're going to change it. It's a matter of catching it when it happens. Once you start catching the moments of, oh, I just said something that I didn't want to say anymore, or oh, I just reacted the way I didn't want to react anymore. Start catching them, and don't beat yourself up about it. Be nice and just, okay, we caught it. All right, now we know where it's at. And now next time you get it, you stop it. And then slowly you will start reacting less and responding better, because you're going to take a minute to think about things and how do you want to portray it to come out as, okay? Especially with the people you love. Like, we want to be extra careful with the people we love. I know we're comfortable with them and we think that we can just shit all over their air and say what we want because we love them and they know they love us, and I mean, they know that we love them, and whatever. Like, it's still important that you try to be careful with the people you love, with how you're coming across and how you're talking and the energy you're bringing. So yeah, that was a huge thing when I was having problems with my kids, with their attitudes or their energies, And when I changed myself is when I saw the biggest change in my kids. And that's what just keeps you going, man. You start seeing this stuff and you just turn into a hippie. You just start looking for what else? What else is out there? What else have I been missing? What else could I have had done? Could I have done that would have helped me instead of like all this stupid discipline shit, where you're like punishing your kids for being kids, for questioning too much or whatever, and that's another thing too, that when you start looking into parenting and mental health and all these things and words, you start to realize that, holy crap, telling your kid because I said so is super toxic. And guess what another thing that's super toxic telling your kids is? Like when they come and tell you like, oh, they're having a bad day. Well, at least you're not, um, at least you can go to school today, or at least, you were able to see your friends. Like, I know we're trying to like give them a better, the light, show them the light, help them go to the light and not be so in that moment of like sadness. We want to just get them to be happier. We don't want them in that sadness too long. But in reality, what we're doing is we're not validating their feelings. We're not validating how they like their emotions at that time. And so that starts to do something in their brains. And so when they become adults, then they're going to have issues, and then they're going to have to realize looking back like, oh, I was never validated. So inform yourself. I know it's harder when you have jobs and stuff because you're giving 40 hours a week to a company. But make time. Make time, because I know you make time for like other stuff and that's your relaxed time, and I get it. But the baton is in your hands, and if you don't give these kids something beneficial, then you're giving them a lot of work, pretty much. And thankfully, though, what I'm noticing here in these days is that TikTok has a lot of like hippie stuff where there's a lot of talk of like mental health and certain traits that are super toxic that we didn't know we were doing, like for example manipulation. Like for me, that was huge growing up. I didn't know it had a name. And gaslighting and love bombing, and I mean the list can go on about all these things that we grew up around, didn't realize it was happening, didn't realize it was that toxic. And so I highly advise you to look into them. Look into, all narcissistic traits, because a lot of times our parents from their generation tend to have that, and maybe it was from their parents. I'm not sure, but I learned that about myself, and it was pretty hard to take, because I genuinely do not want to be a mean person or malicious. So when I learned that, those things about myself, I was so shocked and like a little disgusted, because God knows that's not what I was trying to portray or do. And so when I realized what I was doing, of course, it stops. Once you catch it, you're like, oh, okay, no, that's not what I was trying to do. My bad. Rewind. So be nice to yourself, because you're only doing what you're taught. Please, if you're going to make changes in your life, make them as soon as possible before the kids get older. It is so hard to try to be better and to try to teach your kids better and to respond better and not to be so dramatic about certain things or angry about certain things. It's so hard to rewind things and reteach it. So please, if you have kids and they're little, take the time to learn all the traits that could be damaging your kids for their future and for emotional stuff too. And that was it for parenting. And now, I'm just kidding. I leave this last because I feel like this is the last position I really learned in life, was how to be a partner. And I can tell you from what I've learned is that when you're in a good partnership, it's definitely not supposed to be all good times where you've never have any kind of fights or challenges. If you don't have any kind of challenges, kind of hard. Unless you are a perfect person, you both are perfect people, I can't understand how there haven't been any challenges. But um reason I say that is because your person is going to bring out, eventually going to they're a reflection of you as well, and they're going to show you all the bad things and good things, but most importantly the bad things that you have, um bad traits that you have, that they will call you out on it. And unfortunately, you won't take this advice, or you won't take this criticism to the point to where you're like, huh, let me check to see if I what's going on, why am I doing that. They're the only person that are going to make you look inside, because if somebody else is telling you or has told you, you've dismissed it as, ah, whatever, you're crazy, like you do a lot of shit too, and then whatever, and that's why. And so if um if you have a serious relationship, and you plan on, if you both plan on growing and bettering yourselves and being the best version of yourselves, please prepare for hard times, because it's not easy to tell somebody something that's not nice to hear, and it's not easy to hear it. It's so not easy to hear it, especially when you always try to do everything out of love, and you always give the benefit of the doubt, and you're just you always you're wanting the good. You're not trying to do things maliciously. So it's super hard for people to tell you things that's a trait of something so bad, and it makes you feel kind of gross for a little bit, like, holy crap, like, oh my god, that's what I'm doing. That's what it's called. Oh no, I'm doing that. So unfortunately, it's gonna have to take somebody that you love and respect. Because if it was somebody that you didn't love and respect, you, like I said, you wouldn't take it serious. You would just brush it off. So if your partner has told you, hey, like, you tend to like gaslight me, or if you don't know what that is, like, you tend to, like, I'm telling you something and you're telling me no it's not, like, and I know it is and you're telling me no it's not, and it's got gaslighting. And there's other ways and forms, so please look into it. This is a huge thing, subject, and a lot of information in that. But if your partner has came to you and told you about something, don't take it as a complaint. Don't take it as an attack. And I'm telling you from experience, like, I took it as an attack at first, because I was like, how dare you, my sir, I have done so many things. And it's like, no, get off your high horse. The person you love, the person you respect, and the person who should know you the best is telling you that you're doing something that's not so cool. So this is the time that you should be like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I do not want you to feel that. Like, that is not what I was trying to do. I'm so sorry. Like, definitely, like, I will stop doing that. I will check that. I will correct it. My apologies. It will not happen again. I didn't realize it was coming across that way. And thank you for letting me know. Just know I love you. I respect you. That I would never do something to hurt you, but I'll stop. That would be such a good response to someone saying, like, hey, you've been doing something that's pretty messed up. My first response was, no, I'm not. I did it because, and then I wanted to explain why my brain went there. Like, I want to excuse it. Like, no, the way it happened in here is, and it's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happened in here. What matters is what you did over there. Sorry, my hands are all in the camera. What matters is what you ended up over there. What was received at the other end of it. Did they receive the message you were trying to give them, or did they receive a whole different message? And now it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, who gave the message? I gave the message. So why am I offended? Why am I pissed off? Like, if anything, I'm sorry, like, because I love you and I respect you, and what I did made you feel different. I'm sorry. Before anything else, I am sorry. And then, okay, what did I, all right, so I'm gonna catch it next time. I'm not gonna do that. Like, that's not how I want to talk to you. So, yeah, your person is gonna know you so well, and you're gonna love and respect them, right? If they're your person, you're gonna love and respect them so much too. When they tell you something, it's not gonna be received as, "How dare you? You don't even know me." It's like, no, they know you. So, what I advise, if you feel that you have found your person and you're still in the honeymoon phase and you still haven't started to like get into your own self-work right now, it's a company, it's like a couples thing where, like I said, honeymoon, you guys are getting to know each other or just falling in love, which is what I was going to say. If you're going to go into this self-growth, if you're going into self-growth journey and you have a person, I highly suggest that you fall in love, fall deeply in love, like show each other the got yous. I got you. I got you. Like, show each other that you're there. Show your loyalty. Show your strengths. Show your weaknesses too. Why not? But like, really get a strong foundation and get to know each other, like at the core. Like, really get to know each other at the core. Because this next phase that you're going to get into, where you're going into inner work, self work, it's going to be hard. And so you're going to really have to get to know each other so that when you get to the next phase, it's easier to fall back to, okay, I know this person in the core, at the core, I know her or I know him. So, like, this is hard. We're just going through a hard phase here because self work is hard. It's not easy to look at yourself and say, "Oh, let me fix it." A lot of people go, "Oh, run away." So, um, fall in love and really get to know each other. Show each other I got you. Show each other what you're willing to do for one another, for your relationship. Um, so that when you go into the next part and you have moments of emotional outbursts or um, just going through your own emotional stressors and things like that, it's like we will have weak moments. You will see your partner do and say things that you wish you didn't have to see or hear. But if it's your person, they should be safe having those moments around you. Like, that's where that's where we're growing together. When we, in those moments of embarrassment or those moments of like the low points or where we wish it didn't happen, it's those moments that are making us grow. And so if it's your person, they're gonna know that, they're gonna understand that's just something we have to fight out. But I'm gonna be here because I've already spent this time getting to know you. I know you, and you know me. And so because I know you, I know this is not you. This is just, we're growing. It's like we're watching each other grow. So there's going to be times of weaknesses, and when you love them, you know how to look past that. And it's hard to look past it if you don't have all these situations of I got yous and all these stories of like what they did for you, what you did for them, and these aha moments and these, yeah. Um so get your I got yous, fall in love, and also when you get to the next phase of like digging into yourself and being a better person, still put in time for the falling in love. Still keep trying to like remind each other of how much you love each other, and give yourself some time of just being alone and doing something that you both like, just to continue to keep the fire while you're going through these hard times of discovery, of self-discovery. So, summary for what I've learned as a partner, um, is just it's important to fall in love first, and to Show each other what you have, all your good traits, and not be fake about it either. Don't add traits you don't have. Just show off, like, this is what I can bring to you. If if you feel like you're a strong person and that can build stuff, then you want to make sure they know that, like, I can build. If you need help building, I got it. You want good food, I got it. You like nice decorated house, I got it. I can decorate, like, I'm creative. You want good pictures, I got it. Do you want a cool cake, I got it. So it's those things. It's like, these are the best traits I have, like, this is what I got. And you show each other that, and then you guys, if it's the right match, it's the right person, you're gonna fall in love. And then, yeah, so do that first, and then get into your self-work. Don't think you're perfect. Please believe that we do a lot of things we don't even realize we're doing. So please take it easy on yourself and be open-minded about things, especially if it's coming for the people you love, especially if it's coming from the people you love and the people that are supposed to know you. You've given them that place. You've given them that place already. So don't give them that place if you're not going to respect and love them to that point of, like, I'm going to take what you tell me seriously. So, that. And lastly, just not make sure, but it's important that your person feels safe to be themselves around you. So it's important to understand that we don't stay the same all of our lives. Me from when I was 19, I'm nowhere near that person. So if you can imagine, if you've been with your partner since, like, high school and stuff, like, you can imagine, like, how many changes are going to happen. So don't hold it against them. Don't say, you've changed, you used to do this with me. It's like, don't hold them into this identity of when they were 19 or 20 or whatever age they were when you first met them. Don't hold them into that cage, because that does something to men for some reason. It makes them feel, like, locked in, like, oh, I don't want this anymore. So let them be open, let them be free, let them be themselves. And if you really love them, and as long as they're not doing things that are just not along with what you wanted or something, I mean, we both are growing, so they're going to be growing too, and so they're going to be changing what they like to do or don't like to do, or maybe they want to try something new. Don't make them feel bad for wanting to try something new. Just be open, like, that's your person. And if you know them at the core, then you know everything's going to be fine, and they just want to explore and do something different. Yeah. Another thing that I learned, it has to do with relationships, right? Because I'm talking about unconditional love. But I feel like I finally figured that out. Like, what is unconditional love? And that's exactly it. I feel like unconditional love is loving someone so much and not loving how I feel is just feeling like, I love your soul. I love your soul, because sometimes our minds make us act a certain way, and sometimes our bodies show something that we're not meaning to show. So I like to say I love your soul, because it's deeper than the things you've said and done. It's deeper than that. Like, I feel like I know you so well. I love your soul. And that allows unconditional love, because unconditional love is just exactly what it says. There's no conditions. Like, you don't love me anymore, that's fine, I still love you. Like, unconditional. You don't do this anymore, that's fine, I still love you, because I still know, like, you're a great person at the core, and I love you. Who cares? Like, you can do anything as long as you're happy. And their happiness is so important to you that you really understand, like, this is a whole human being. Like, this is a whole person. They have their own thing going on, like their own thoughts, their own traumas, their own upbringing. Like, how can you hold them to anything? Like, they're growing, they're learning, they're discovering too. We're just humans in this experience, and it's like, how dare you try to like stop him from wanting to do anything? Like, I don't know. You just got to look at life a little differently, and just be more free and just be more forgiving and understanding that we're all just people trying to survive and trying to learn, trying to figure this out, And so unconditional love is loving someone so much that no matter what they do or say after a certain point, after you've known that you love them that much, there's nothing that they can do, because you know them. Like, it's deeper. It's so deep. It's so weird. It's so weird, but in a good way. It's really cool. It's really sweet to have unconditional love. It takes away the fear of like pushing somebody away. It takes away the fear of disappointment. It takes away the fear of like accidents or doing something and looking stupid or falling. I mean, it just takes away the fear of everything. It really lets you be yourself. It really lets you just come in like a baby and crawl, and then learn to walk and not be held against your flaws. Being someone looking past your flaws, past your bad days, past your emotional breakdowns, like that's unconditional love. And and what I've learned as a person too, just when you're going through your journey of just discovering yourself, and who you are, like I said, who you're trying to portray, and making sure they match. These times in your life, they're pretty lonely. And so if you're finding yourself in a time like this and you're like, I'm so alone, it's okay. You're supposed to be alone. God made it this way. Like, if you think about situations that happen, like that was all planned by God, because this is time for you to look at yourself and just go within. So if you're finding yourself by yourself, don't get like too depressed into that feeling of being alone. Because another thing you need to be mindful of is, if you can't stand being by yourself, then how can you expect anyone to want to hang out with you if you can't even hang out with you? When I heard that one, I was like, oh, damn, because I hated to be by myself. I hated to be myself. I would always ask someone to go to the store with me, like, come with me, come with me. It was pretty sad. So when I heard that, I was just like, it's dumb. Like, I like hanging out by myself. Like, you're dumb. And so I had to learn to just be with myself. And that's when you start really, like, things just come to you. I call it downloads. But when you sit in silence and when you just sit with yourself for a little bit and get to know you, like, things just start coming into, like, thoughts come in where it's like, oh yeah, realizations happen. So much happens in the quiet, in the darkness. So don't be afraid of it. Welcome it, and just start looking for things that are going to help you through the process. But don't just fall deep into that darkness and just think that, oh, poor me, no one's reaching out to me, no one's helping me. It's because you're supposed to help yourself. You're supposed to help yourself. And like I said, you need to get to the point where you're okay being with yourself. Why? Because you're so cool that you don't mind hanging out with yourself. And trust me, I rather hang out by myself now. So yeah, you'll get used to it. You'll get used to the peace that's gonna come from it, because it gets peaceful. You start to realize, like, all the noise from the outside world and all the drama and stuff from work or from friends or from TV shows, like, you realize how much it was cluttering you. So take this quiet time, work on yourself, be nice to yourself. We're only human. Listen or read some books that are going to help you. Knowing is half the battle. But yeah, that's all I have for today as far as what I've learned as a daughter, as a mother, as a partner, and just as a human being. And if you have any questions, or I wouldn't say opinions, because I don't, I'm not really asking for opinions at this point. I'm just asking for the ears that are meant to hear me, hear me say these things if you're going through some things like that. So I think that's all I got. So that's it for now. And comment, subscribe, check out my store. I have some pretty cool t-shirts, and I keep adding more as they come into my head. So I know they're a little up there, but it's not about the price, it's about the support. So help a girl out. We'll talk soon. Bye.